Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship is legally sound. He can't do it. The critics have invariably howled, decrying President Trump's landmark Day One executive order upending status quo on birthright citizenship. Our debate today thus depends on whether in 1868 foreign citizens or subjects, whether here legally or illegally, were considered subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. They weren't. In post-Civil War Republican-dominated Congress, the 14th Amendment was intended to constitutionalize the Civil Rights Act of 1866. Representative James Wilson, who was then the House Judiciary Committee chairman and leading drafter of the 14th, emphasized that the amendment was establishing no new right, declaring no new principle. Similarly, Senator Howard of Michigan, the principal author of the Citizenship Clause, described it as simply declaratory of what I regard as the law of the land already. The relevant part of the Civil Rights Act of 1866 reads, all persons born in the United States and not subject to any foreign power, excluding Indians not taxed, are hereby declared to be citizens of the United States. In other words, subject to the jurisdiction thereof necessarily excludes those subject to any foreign power. This goes back to what Pop was saying about if you're a Bolivian and you have to call the Bolivian embassy to get your ass out of a hitch in the United States, you're not subject to our laws, therefore your child is not a United States citizen. Sorry, tough titty, that's the way that it works.
And even if you're going to say, yes, the child is a citizen, give them a certificate, wrap them all up, and send them all back to where they came from, and then they can unfuck it when the kid turns the age of majority.
Exactly. Well, there's that age of 21 clause.
Yeah.
In the whole thing. So there is a pathway to that, but they should go home. So, in other words, subject to the jurisdiction thereof necessarily excludes those subject to any foreign power, as then Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lyman Trumbull said during the ratification debate. Subject to jurisdiction means subject to the United States complete jurisdiction, that is, not owing allegiance to anybody else. Now, what that means, to unpack that, is if you're here in the United States, you're subject to our laws. You commit a crime here, you're subject to our courts. You have a crime committed against you, you have access to our courts. That is not the same as being subject to the jurisdiction of. Like if you're a Dutch citizen and something happens, you get into an auto accident, you have access to our courts to resolve all of that, and it will be resolved through that process here in the United States. However, you're still a Dutch citizen. That doesn't give you instant access to citizenship. You still have to go home. You're here on a student visa, tourist visa, what have you. There's a difference between subject to the jurisdiction to in total and having access to our courts for whatever reason, or being subject to our courts should you commit a crime. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. And so the 14th Amendment, properly understood, does not constitutionally require that a child born in the United States to non-citizens be granted citizenship. This should be abundantly clear to everybody. Somehow everyone thinks if you just shit out a fornication trophy, you're good to go. This understanding was unchallenged for decades. In the slaughterhouse cases of 1873, Justice Samuel Miller interpreted the Citizenship Clause as intended to exclude from its operation children of citizens or subjects of foreign states born within the United States. Right there. And in 1884, the case of Elk versus Wilkins, Justice Horace Gray held that the subject to jurisdiction means not merely subject in some respect or degree to the jurisdiction of the United States, but completely subject to their political jurisdiction and owing direct and immediate allegiance. Again, the difference between having access to our courts for something or being subject to criminal law and being completely subject to the United States and owing some allegiance to.
A test for that is if you can charge them with treason or not. Because if you are not a citizen of the United States and you're not subject to our laws, we can't really charge you with treason to the United States.
No, do you know the operative mechanism there?
No.
In the intelligence schools, the first thing we learned is I forget the case. He was an FBI agent, Robert something, back in the 80s or 90s.
Oh, I remember that case.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, they rolled him up hard.
They rolled him up hard. He was our first lesson in the intelligence community, and the very first thing we learned is the phrase, to betray, you must first belong. So in order to commit treason, the act of a traitor, which is betrayal, you must belong to whatever that is to commit treason. You must belong to that country. You must owe allegiance to that country. You must have a duty to that country. You must be a citizen of that country to be a traitor. So somebody who does espionage in the United States who's a citizen of a foreign country is guilty of espionage, but cannot be guilty of treason.
There you go.
There you have it. So it's true that Gray inexplicably reversed course in an oft-cited 1898 case, United States versus Wong Kim. There's Wong again, something Wong. Over a powerful and compelling dissenting opinion, Gray held that there is some level of birthright citizenship for U.S.-born children of lawfully present non-citizens, but even in that wrongfully decided case, the court emphasized that its holding was limited to children of resident aliens who were under the allegiance of the United States. And that is, again, exactly what we've been talking about here. Just being in the United States lawfully and having a kid, if you're a foreign national, doesn't make your kid a citizen. It just doesn't. It's the whole idea is so ridiculous. And we have to stop it because it is obviously being used as a blunt force weapon.
Correct. It needs to stop. I mean, I'm tired of paying for it. Even if they're like, okay, you're born here, you're a citizen, give you the certificate, you and your parents going back to where you came from, figure it out when you turn 18 to 21. See ya, bye.
It's insane. Here's the leftist take on this, actually. Here's an article from CNN, which is reliably, of course, leftist. It may not be as oft quoted as the First Amendment or as contested as the Second, but the 14th Amendment to the Constitution plays a critical role in supporting some of our closest held notions of American freedoms. And here's where the lefty shit starts. For one, it clearly states that American citizenship is a birthright for all people born on American soil. No, it does not. It clearly does not state that.
Yes.
Something that President Trump has announced that he wants to end. Not only would this unravel 150 years of American law, false, it would loosen a significant cornerstone of the Constitution's interpretation of American identity. In order to better understand this part of the 14th Amendment, we turn to a pair of experts in constitutional and immigration law, Jeffrey Rosen, interesting name, president and CEO of the National Constitution Center, and Erica Lee, former director of the Immigration History Research Center at Minnesota. The amendment has 5 sections, but we will only be dealing with the first, which contains the citizenship clause and 3 other related clauses. Now, to remind everybody, all of the links for this show are they in the Meat Gazer box?
They should be.
They will be on the website.
They will be on the website.
Yep.
Okay.
Should be.
Because we're pushing close to the edge where we start reading the super chats, but I should be able to get through this. This one is actually fairly interesting. 14th Amendment, known as the Reconstruction Amendment, was added to the Constitution after the Civil War in 1868. That places it as an important historical crossroads where lingering wounds of divisiveness and animosity still plagued the nation. Thomas Jefferson said men were created equal, but the original Constitution betrayed that promise by allowing for slavery, said Jeffrey Rosen. The 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments were designed to enshrine Lincoln's promise of a new America. The country was specifically, pointedly designed for free white men of a certain moral character. It's in the founding documents. The amendment's first section begins, all persons born or naturalized in the United States, listen carefully, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state where they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. However, as is so often the case, this reaffirmed American ideal fell short of reality. Rosen notes that the issues of civil rights and equal treatment continue to be denied to African Americans, LGBT people, and other citizens for more than a century after the amendment's ratification. Look, in that day and age, this is just how it was. I don't care how you feel about it. Gay people were frowned upon to the point where they were usually either put in institutions
Or
or
ran out of town.
disposed of, or they worked in the theater districts and stayed there,
Uh-huh.
working in the theater, doing their thing, and not crossing the line.
Most of them are run out of town.
Yes, exactly. It's just the way that it was. Stop pretending that you can look at the world that was 200 years ago through your fancy new freaking. I'd be so pushing toward a YouTube strike with the things I want to say right now.
Silence.
I won't do it. I won't do it.
Silence.
Maintaining calm. Maintaining calm. Maintaining. I hate them. Oh my God.
Anger.
As anger. As Erica Lee points out, the Native Americans weren't even allowed to become citizens until 1925. They didn't want to become citizens. Many of them did not want to become citizens. They still don't. Even as these amendments were written, obviously there were major built-in inequalities that maybe it was time that they weren't intended to apply for everyone. Why was citizenship by birthright such an important concept? Citizenship was a central question left open by the original Constitution. At the time it was written, the Constitution assumed citizenship, but didn't provide any rules for it. In the infamous Dred Scott decision, the Chief Justice said African Americans can't be U.S. citizens and had no rights where the white man was bound to respect. The U.S. Supreme Court's ruling in the Scott case, named for a slave who unsuccessfully sued for his freedom, has since been widely condemned. Again, looking back through time with your little lens of insert strikes of YouTubes here.
Yep.
The 14th Amendment was designed to overturn this decision and define citizenship once and for all, and it was based on birthright. That is patently false. It says right there exactly what it means. It's really important that this is a vision of citizenship based on land rather than blood. We don't have magic dirt. There is no such thing as magic dirt. It is an idea that anyone can be an American if they commit themselves to our constitutional values. That's fine. That doesn't count for a baby born to illegals or a citizen of another country. What does it mean to be subject to the jurisdiction thereof? Here we go. According to Rosen, this is one of the greatest questions of citizenship. There are two clear examples of people not subject to the jurisdictions of the United States: diplomats and their children, and Native Americans who were not recognized as part of the American populace. They didn't want to be. With these two exceptions, everyone who is physically present in the United States was thought to be under its jurisdiction. I explained the difference very clearly. You're subject to our laws, but you are not a citizen. This applies in any country that you go to.
Yeah. And
every country I've been to, and I've been quite a few.
Do you want to see some crazy shit? You see what Mexico does to illegal aliens.
They're
absolute savage about it.
Nice.
They don't play. Like, you overstay your visa in Mexico, you better get the hell out of there, because if they catch it, they will thump you up pretty badly.
Nice. I did not know that.
Yeah.
We should maybe later do a show on what happens to other countries with illegal aliens. Some scholars, like John Eastman of the Claremont Institute Center for Constitutional Jurisprudence, have argued that the children of undocumented immigrants are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and should not be considered citizens under the Constitution. But Rosen says this is a minority view. No, it's not. Everybody thinks that. Among constitutional scholars of all political backgrounds, while the Supreme Court has not explicitly ruled, Congress has passed all kinds of laws presuming their citizenship. What a load of crap. What is the connection between birthright, citizenship, and immigration? 1898, 30 years after the 14th Amendment was adopted, the Supreme Court reached a defining decision in a case known as United States versus, hey, Wong is back! Something Wong again! I'm sorry, I have to. Lee explains that Wong Kim Ark was the American-born son of Chinese immigrants. Asian immigrants were the first immigrants to the U.S. that couldn't be considered white because they're not! They're Chinese! They have a country! Lee says, so they are treated differently, they are taxed differently, they are stripped of many rights. In the 1880s, they are excluded from immigration and barred from citizenship. Sorry. So the main question of the case was, could a person born in America be a citizen in a place where his parents could not be as well? The Supreme Court decided yes, which was in error in my opinion, and the case remains the first defining legal decision made under the banner of birthright citizenship. The Supreme Court's decision said that the right of citizenship is not a matter of inheritance. It never descends from generation to generation. It is related to where you're born. It is about the power of place, magic dirt. This is the magic dirt argument. This is where it comes. I knew there was something wrong with the magic dirt argument. Now we know what it is. has been very expansive and at a time a corrective measure to a more exclusionary definition, both legally as you can tell where this article is going. I will not belabor the point. This is how the leftists try to argue it. Oh, the jurisdiction thing isn't really there and doesn't really mean what it says. Is it? That's their argument.
Yeah. Well, and guess what? They find judges who legislate from the bench and go right along with that shit, and here we are.
They install those judges.
Yes,
not
they
to
do.
put too fine a point on it. They deliberately look at Sotomayor, for Christ's sake.
Oh my God, yeah.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the meat caser box.